brilliant writer here in New York City, who also joined the Siegel Talk last year, and is one of the talks a lot of people refer to. And I hope Carl is with us and that it will work out. So thank you, Eva Washington, and everybody to have been here with us. We just got a notice that Dr. Gora Paraset, who's Jintara Minigate, her flight back from Vienna has been delayed. It couldn't go off and on like it was, so she will not fully be able to join us. But we're going to have Tanvi with us and Abhishek, and we will talk a little bit about also the situation in India and what we do. So first of all, Abhishek, how do you think, how are the talks are going? Were you expecting this level of engagement, or how do you feel?
How are you doing, Frank?
So far, so good. I'm surprised. It's still early in the day.
You want to take a 5-minute break? You want to walk around and come back? I can hold fort till then.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that for some minute, and maybe you talk a bit with Tanvi also about producing and what choices you made and what you did. And I'm just going to turn my camera off for a moment.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm just waiting for Tanvi to join in into the broadcast, and then we will start talking about our producing choices for this show, for this evening. Tanvi, are you joining us? Are you here? Yeah, so I mean, for our audiences, I think it's been fascinating. The first 8 hours or so that we have had this talk going on, and a very wide range of conversations. Essentially, when Tanvi and I were curating it, we were looking for, curating a diverse set of opinions and looking at diversity across India. And it's so exciting that HowlRound and Frank and Siegel Center have, obviously knowing their work, kept the same thing in mind for a global set of speakers. So it's fascinating. It's been fascinating to see this conversation reach this larger scale. So yeah, that I think is the most important thing. Go ahead.
Hello. I think we're waiting for Abhishek to join this call. I think Abhishek will need to be sent this new live stream link now that we are done with our first 8 hours of our 24-hour marathon.
No, I understand.
Yeah. No, but in the meantime, it would be welcome, Atish, and welcome, Dakshin. It is so wonderful to have you here. Thank you for joining us at this incredible hour. Will you please tell everybody what time it is in India?
Thank you so much, Tanvi. It's really, really good to see you after a long time. Where are you? Are you in India or?
I am. It is 2:30 a.m. for the both of us.
I was saying that we are enjoying the moment. That first time we are speaking at the midnight at 2:30 a.m. webinar. But yeah, that's amazing time.
It's quite electrifying. I mean, I would find it very hard to be asleep at this time anyway. So it's great. It's great to be here. Would you, in the meantime, Dakshin and Atish, would you please introduce yourselves and your work?
Sure. Actually, Atish will speak about what Budhan Theatre has been doing since many years, and I will be speaking on what we have done actually during the pandemic. So I will request to Atish, he will start and he will speak in Hindi, I will translate in English. And I'll try to do the best translation, I don't know, but I'll try to justify.
Sounds
Yes.
good.
Over to Atish. Hello.
We are
Abhishek.
just
there.
we're just welcoming Atish and Dakshin, and they were just about to introduce themselves.
मेरा नाम आतिश है और मैं अहमदाबाद से हूँ और मैं बुधन थिएटर्स के साथ पिछले 18 साल से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ एज एक्टर के तौर पर.
Atish is a theatre practitioner and he has been associated with Budhan Theatre since last 18 years. Myself, Dakshin Chara, I am also known as Dakshin Bajrange. I am a theatre practitioner, filmmaker, documentary filmmaker, and denotified tribes activist.
For those of us who don't know, Dakshin, or may not know, could you please explain to us what denotified tribes mean and where this term came from and what the history is in Budhan theatre?
Sure. So what, like, for example, who we are, what we are doing, that part is actually Atish will be speaking and I will be translating. I request to Atish to speak. So that will explain who are denotified tribes, who are, in detail. I'll be able to tell. Please.
बेसिकली ये है कि मैं और दक्षिण जिस कम्युनिटी से है, छारा कम्युनिटी, वो वन ऑफ द डीनोटिफाइड ट्राइब्स कम्युनिटी है. ये जो कम्युनिटी है, इनको गवर्नमेंट का ये कहना है कि इनकी जो तादाद है इस देश में करीबन 110 करोड़ की तादाद है और इन्हीं सभी लोगों को क्रिमिनल ट्राइब एक्ट यानी क्रिमिनल ट्राइब एक्ट के तहत सभी को क्रिमिनल घोषित किया गया है. और ये इतिहास में इसका इतिहास है कि जो अंग्रेजों ने बनाया कानून था 1871 में, द क्रिमिनल ट्राइब एक्ट, जिसके तहत इन्हें गुनहगार घोषित किया गया था.
Me and Dakshin, I mean myself, we both belong to the Chara denotified tribe. Chara are known as a denotified because they were notified as a criminal tribe during the British era, and unfortunately that stigma is still going on the community, and not just Charas, but there are more than 110 crore people. I don't know how many in millions, but 11 crore people in India who are branded as born criminals by the British, and right now they are living the life with the stigma.
और इसी स्टिग्मा को लेकर हम लोगों ने हम सोचते थे हमेशा से कि स्टिग्मा को लेकर हमारे पास बहुत सारी कहानियां थी, हमारे साथ बहुत सारी बातें थी, तो हम एक स्ट्रगल था हमारे साथ. तो हम लोगों ने सोचा कि इसको एक आर्ट फॉर्म देना चाहिए, इसलिए हम लोगों ने 1998 में एक थिएटर बनाया जिसका नाम रखा गया बुधन थिएटर. और उस थिएटर को दुनिया के साथ जोड़ा कि हमारे साथ जो हुआ है, यानी ये क्रिमिनल एक्ट के बारे में हमारी कहानियां, हमारे गाने, हमारे सब कुछ हमने थिएटर के माध्यम से लोगों तक पहुंचाया.
We wanted to tell our stories. We wanted to tell our stories that how we are living life with the stigma, and for that we choose theater to tell our stories. And in 1998 we started our theater group, and through the theater we connected with so many, like to the different world. I mean, for us that is a different world. Like Charanagar is like its own universe. So we connected with another universe, another world to tell our stories.
और इस थिएटर ग्रुप को इंस्पायर करने में डॉक्टर गणेश देवी जो पद्मश्री अवार्ड से विजेता है, और साथ में महाश्वेता देवी जो कलकत्ता की महान लेखिका थी, जिनका 1084 की माँ रुदाली से नॉवेल लिखे हैं उन्होंने, और उन्होंने हमें इंस्पायर किया इस थिएटर ग्रुप को यानी डीनोटिफाइड ट्राइब्स की आवाज बनाने के लिए.
The group was founded by known linguist and professor of English, Dr. Ganesh Devi, and very known writer Mahashweta Devi. They founded this theatre group.
हम लोगों ने अभी तक यानी इतने सालों में 58 प्रोडक्शन हम लोगों ने किए हैं, अलग अलग घूमतू समाज की बातों को लेकर, उनकी स्ट्रगल को लेकर, उनके स्टिग्मा को लेकर, पुलिस एट्रोसिटी को लेकर पूरी दुनिया में हम लोग घूमे हैं. और साथ ही साथ हम लोगों ने यानी थिएटर के थ्रू, यानी दुनिया में एक ऐसा पहला थिएटर ग्रुप होगा बुधन थिएटर की थिएटर के थ्रू उन्होंने हाउस राइट्स दिला है इस स्टेट में, गुजरात स्टेट में.
We have done 58 productions, and let me just add that roughly we have performed more than 1,500 shows across the country, and mainly we do street theater. I mean, that is, you can call, poor theater, which does not have, we have just our bodies and our voice when we perform. So we perform more than 1,500 shows, and one of the success story of our efforts, through theater, is that we succeeded to give the justice to the 112 families to get their housing right from the state, because we fought the case in the High Court and in the Supreme Court as a theater group, and we won the case. And right now, the people who were living at the, on the streets, and their huts were many times bulldozed by the civic authorities. Right now, they are living in a pakka houses, government houses. That all happened because of the theater. So that is one of the success story, Atish shared.
और दूसरी और ये था जब कोरोना यानी कोविड आया, और कोविड के चलते क्योंकि हम लोग जिस बस्ती में रहते हैं वहीं, क्योंकि ये गीच बस्ती है ना, बहुत सारे बस्तियों में तो लोग कैसे रहते हैं, तो काफी डेथ हुई यहाँ कोरोना को चलते हुए। तो जो फिजिकल थिएटर था, फिजिकल थिएटर तो खत्म ही हो गया क्योंकि कोरोना के दौरान हम लोग कर नहीं पाए। तो हम लोगों ने एक ये सोचा कि हम लोग फिजिकल टू डिजिटल का एक माध्यम चुने हम लोग। और हमारी जो कहानी, क्योंकि हमेशा से आप देखिएगा जो मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया है उसमें दलित कम्युनिटी, मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी, आदिवासी एंड डीएनटी कम्युनिटी, उनको हमेशा से आउटस्कट किया गया है। तो इनकी बातें कैसे पहुंचा, इसलिए हम लोगों ने फिजिकल टू डिजिटल का एक आइडिया सोचा और हमने अपना एक मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म तैयार किया हम लोगों ने।
I mean, Atish just has shared that in the mainstream media, stories from the margins, like, stories from the Adivasis, denotified tribes, Dalit communities, from the marginalized population, they, those stories are always missing at the mainstream media species. When the corona started, there were so many deaths in our community. I mean, we saw 42 people died in the first wave of corona in just where we live in one community, like in the Chara community. And there was need to tell these stories and also to inform people that whatever is happening, what is happening in the world in our own language. And that is why we have decided that, the kind of theater we were doing physically, we tried to turn, from physical to digital, and we started the video podcast. From here, I will just take on, and I hope we are on time. So I'll mainly speak actually about our work during the podcast. We Indians are aware that, our Prime Minister, he announced lockdown in just 4 hours. I mean, 130 crore people populated country. He just announced lockdown in just 4 hours, and we saw the world's largest migrant workers migration actually from urban areas to their villages. Let me just share that when, the corona was starting and things were coming out and the states were informed, during that time in the February, the United States president was invited by our Prime Minister and organized the event called Namaste Trump in Ahmedabad. And Namaste Trump was organized on 24th of February, when the entire world was preparing how to survive and how to save, themselves from this pandemic. That time, our Prime Minister called, the US president, and with the US president, so many foreigners and like thousands of people actually came to our city. When that was the time when all the countries were stopping, I mean, closing the door for the foreigners because of, pandemic. Because of that, we faced first wave, and on 24th of March, he announced lockdown in just 4 hours. And after that, there was a lot of chaos everywhere. We heard first time the word called pandemic. We were not aware at all. Mahamari kya hota hai? What is Mahamari? What is pandemic? And how that gets spread? We never heard actually. We never even learned actually from our in our school syllabus also. We heard first time this word and did not know what to do, how to survive, and there was a lot of misinformation actually spreading from all corner of the media people and press, and nobody was able to decide what to do and how to survive. During that time, as I said, that we lost 42 lives in our community, and we decided to speak out because we tried to contact government, we tried to give government to give the solution, we tried to contact the mainstream media and so many people that please help us, even local administration, please help us, because we lost 42 people in just one community in 1 month. I mean, there were daily deaths. So we decided that I think this is important to tell the stories, and with the help of University of Leicester in UK, fortunately we got this project, and because of their funding help, we started to produce video podcast in our own language. We don't speak Hindi, or we don't speak Gujarati or English. English is our fifth language actually. So we speak our Bantu language, that's our dialect, it's our tribal dialect. And might be in South India, if our community people are there living in South India, they might don't understand Hindi or Gujarati. So we decided to express ourselves in our own language. We produced 10 episodes on different subjects, like how women are, what they are facing during the corona, people who died, how their family and what they are feeling, what are their stories. Children, they were really scared, and they were like constantly washing their hands, and a lot of these sanitizers, using. They were facing a lot of skin problems, physical distancing, which is impossible where we are living. I mean, that's a congested ghetto. I mean, in such kind of atmosphere, how you can survive? And there was a need to, spread a scientific information in our own language. So through this, video podcast, we spread the information, and slowly, the corona cases actually get down. Even during that time, as a theater group, we thought that that is our responsibility, that we should sanitize the entire community. And we all actors, we gone actually during the lockdown, when nobody was allowed to go outside, we gone in our community with the sanitizers, and we sanitize each and every houses. So slowly, the corona cases got down. Then in second wave, I mean, after that, we were keep working on video podcast. We produced 10 episodes, as I said. Then after that, we thought that I think there's a need to tell other people's story, other community story also, who are living at the margins, other denotified tribes, like Bahurupis, multi-face people who are, I mean, they perform on the streets in disguise, in different, different costumes, like nuts who are traditional acrobats, they walk on the rope, their performance gone. The snake charmers, they could not perform, like, rope makers, the map sellers. I mean, their livelihood was completely gone. So they had a lot of stories to tell, a lot of suffering to tell. So we decided to tell their story also. So we started second season. Right now, we have finished 5 episodes. I mean, altogether 15 episodes. We are producing 5 more episodes on different communities, and 10 episodes. Like right now, the theater group, Budan theater people, they are now trained filmmaker, because they will be producing more than 20 episodes. So they don't know, they know how to work with the sound, how to work with the camera, and different kind of equipments. We decided to give this knowledge to our Adivasi friends. So from next month, we are going to train 10 Adivasi youth, 200 kilometers from Ahmedabad, in the forest area. We are going there, and we will be training, those youth, that to tell their stories through the film medium, because physically it is still not allowed to perform on the stage, or to do any sort of performance. So I think right now the social media and the digital media is the only medium where we can express and we can tell our stories. So this is what we have been doing after corona, during corona. Apart of that, around $60,000 to $70,000 charity work we have done as a theater group. People supported, different organizations supported us, and we provided a lot of ration to the different denotified tribe communities and poor communities, oxygen concentrator. We also bought oxygen cylinders as a backup in the community, because in the second wave, people died because of the lack of the oxygen, including my mom. And I also faced such a horrible time, to arrange one bottle of the oxygen, and she died. For me, that's not a natural death. That's a political killing. And during first wave or second wave, you say whatever, in India, I think people who died, they were not died, they were killed systematically. They would alive if our administration, our state, proactively work for the people, not just, for the advertisement. So I think these are the political killings, because I think you're supposed to ask us question that what we faced emotionally and politically. This is what actually we feel, that all deaths were actually, political killing. That is what we feel.
Oh yeah, I just joined back. Welcome Atish and Dakxin. That's quite it's shocking and and hard to hear, and almost unimaginable that this would be the case. Will you do a reading, or did you prepare something what you might do for us?
We will be reciting a poem which was written by Avtar Singh Sadhu, Pash. So he will be speaking in Hindi, and I will be speaking in English. Should we start?
Yeah, why not?
मेहनत की लूट सबसे खतरनाक नहीं होती, पुलिस की मार सबसे खतरनाक नहीं होती.
The most dangerous occurrence is not a robbery of hard work. The most horrifying act is not torture by the police.
गद्दारी लोग की मुट्ठी सबसे खतरनाक नहीं होती, बैठे बिठाए पकड़े जाना बुरा तो है.
A merger of betrayal and greed is not the most dangerous. To be trapped while asleep is undoubtedly miserable.
सहमी सी चूक में टकरे जाना बुरा तो है, पर सबसे खतरनाक नहीं होता.
To be buried under the silence is undoubtedly miserable, but it is not the most dangerous.
सबसे खतरनाक होता है मुर्दा शांति से भर जाना, न होना तड़प का सब कुछ सहन कर जाना.
To remain silent in the noise of corruption is undoubtedly miserable. Reading covertly under the light of a firefly is undoubtedly miserable, but it is not the most dangerous.
घर से निकलना काम पर और काम से लौटकर घर आना सबसे खतरनाक होता है हमारे सपनों का मर जाना.
The most dangerous deed is to be filled with the dead silence, not feeling any agony against the unjust and bearing it all. Getting trapped in the routine of running from home to work and from work to home, the most dangerous accident is the death of our dreams.
That's so quite so powerful. Tanvi, since we have you with us, what is your response? Also, tell us a bit about the Mumbai experience at the moment for theater makers. But what do you think when you hear that he said it was actually, this is almost murder, it's political murder?
Yeah, I think, for me, because across the world, many countries were proactively working to save, their own people. I think in our country, as a theater practitioner, as a political activist, as a filmmaker, I don't think they were really serious to save people. If they would serious, oxygen, scarcity of the oxygen, that's a blot on the politics, of our country. People were dying because of lack of the oxygen, whether they were Bombay or Delhi or Calcutta or anywhere. The responsible, the person who is holding the highest office of the country, he was gathering people during the corona, during the pandemic. That's clearly a killing. That's clearly a killing.
Tanvi, are you going to speak about your experience? I think Hank was asking. Dakshin bhai, we are very sorry to hear about your mother. I wanted to say that first. It is heartbreaking to hear that. Very sorry about that.
It's also really heartbreaking in the context that I think it was just announced, or the government just released some sort of circular which said that the states did not declare any oxygen shortage deaths. And this, I mean, to hear it in the context of what you said, to hear it in the context of, so one of the most horrifying afternoons of the pandemic for me in the second wave was, I mean, theater projects were stalled. People were panicking. A lot of people contracted COVID in the second wave. A lot of theater makers who I was collaborating with, even digitally, and it just did not. It didn't make sense to work on ideas that were not relevant to what was really happening. So I sat with my father and I said, okay, I'm going to be your assistant now. I'm going to answer your calls because he has 3 phones now. And he at one point was trying to answer all 3 of them. And for an entire 5 hours, I think, of one day, all I had to do was tell people, I'm sorry, there are no beds available. I'm sorry, there are no beds available.
Yeah.
And then we were scrolling down the messages of people begging for beds, scrolling down messages. And my father was going in order, because we were getting so many. And there was a backlog of hundreds. And then he got to the bottom one. And he said, okay, I'm here now. When somebody said, my brother-in-law desperately needs a bed, oxygen. And he says, okay, I saw your message now. Tell me what you need. And they said, too late, he's dead. It was just a matter of us not being able to get to them in time. And I answered these. I'm in no way equipped. None of them were. I don't think it was emotionally ravaging. I don't know. And there was no mental health support. There was absolutely nothing. And they didn't ask for it. These people are used to working in ridiculous conditions, but especially in the last 1.5 years, doctors have been working 18 hours a day. My house has, we haven't had a single meal that wasn't interrupted by one of us picking up calls. And what that led to for us was that's kind of how I became part of my father's relief efforts. It just seemed like there was absolutely nothing else that was more compelling to do. And one of my primary focus points was getting quality N95 masks to people in urban areas and having them distribute them among their domestic help and their staff, because the N95 masks available at pharmacies and online are often fake and of bad quality. Now people, of course, the mask trade kind of became a trade, really. And doctors, and my father was like, no, fake, no, not an N95, no, that's just a lot of cloth that's put together, that's not accurate. And people are spending lots of money to buy these. So in the last maybe 3.5 months, we have donated and sold, and I have packaged, physically, just me, packaged about 20,000 N95 masks and given them to NGOs, to people, to send them to Bareilly, send them to, to Telangana, to rural Maharashtra, to villages that were, that have no umbrellas. They were also, we were also trying to organize printers for their schools and umbrellas and little things that were absolutely nobody was asking about. We were organizing PPE kits for crematorium and cemetery workers, because they were really the frontline workers that were not treated like frontline workers. They were not given any of those privileges, and they were working 7 days a week overtime to bury bodies, and they didn't have space for those bodies, and they didn't have equipment and gear to protect themselves, and they were literally in contact with COVID bodies. So one of the things I'm proud of, and I'm glad we did, was we got sanitizers to them. They didn't have sanitizer to take back home. We got them giant bottles. It seems ridiculous to have to do that, and it seems ridiculous that I was the one who got to decide who got sanitizers and didn't, who got N95 masks and didn't, who got protective gear and didn't. It gave somebody who has no insight into the healthcare system and its structures far too much power, and all it took was initiative, which seems ridiculous, because look at the kind of funds and the kind of resources and the kind of reach that institutions have. And the more I kept doing it and the more we kept doing it, and we had people doing fundraisers for 7,000 rupees. I mean, I translate that into dollars, that's like $100. Fundraisers, they were selling chicken puffs, they were selling cards. My 9-year-old niece sold bookmarks, and she managed to save the life of a poor man in the hospital being treated in the ICU. She managed to get a poor man who couldn't afford treatment. A 9-year-old sold bookmarks. We're sitting on so many resources, on so much money, and it's ludicrous. And there is a sense of, wow, I can actually contribute, but then there's this constant, overwhelming sense of, it is ridiculous that I am able to contribute. And only when it is entirely now about my imagination, it is entirely now about, oh, if I think to contribute here, then they get resources. If I think to ask, I had a really chatty rickshaw van, and I was talking to him one day, and it was the first rickshaw ride I had in a year and a half, and I was going to meet my grandmother, and he said, "Hi, how are you?" And I said, "Hi, how are you?" When we were talking, and then I said, "How has the last year and a half been for you?" And he said, "We lost 2 family members. My brother-in-law is unemployed. I'm the only person." He said it so nonchalantly because we're so accustomed to this. You know, even the doctors who were assaulted, the doctors I spoke to, who were being haggled with, doctors are currently being haggled with by patients, by rich affording patients, saying, "Oh, you're doing digital tele advice. Oh, you can't possibly be asking for the same amount." People are haggling, and then this man is saying, "Oh, it's fine. I lost people. I lost whatever." And I just casually, in a rickshaw ride to meet my nanny, said, "Do you need things? Can I send you something?" And he said, "Yeah, that would be great." And so we managed to send them resources, and it's ridiculous that it literally is that.
It was total 100% panic. Nobody knows, what to do, where to go, total mismanagement, 100% mismanagement everywhere. Whether that's here, Ahmedabad or Kolkata or where.
What I would like to say that maybe has not been said yet is that a lot of the people currently lauding us for relief efforts are people who voted for this government. A lot of people who currently are like, "You are heroes, you are wonderful, you are warriors, you are our white knights and shining da da da." They are the people who are completely okay looking at citizens essentially stop their real-time jobs, stop earning money, stop doing anything that is about their training and their life. It feels ridiculous that I essentially came off the back of 2 directors training programs, one with Abhishek and Indian Ensemble and one for my master's, and I came back and I've done nothing to do with theatre, and instead it's been about this, something I have no insight of, no political science background, nothing, no training. It literally is an exercise in imagination, and the fact is that a lot of people will get away with appreciating you and then keeping the powers that be where they are. And I just want to say that this is not our job. Yes, it is very important to be doing what we're doing, and yes, it's very important to find our ways into the community and to constantly work on the ground in any way we can, but you can't, this is not a replacement for the real work that needs to be done. And this feels temporary, and it feels ad hoc, and it feels disorganized, and it feels adrenaline. I think we've been running on adrenaline and this overwhelming need to be useful and be of use for the last 3.5, 4 months, because there's nothing else to do. Nothing else makes more sense. So, but yeah, it is important to say that lauding efforts and being complimentary is not what is needed. What is needed is to be critical. And we live in this country where we turn people into reverential figureheads, whether it's politicians or doctors, and we don't question them or we assault them. So we have this extremely strange relationship with power.
No, I think because we all are associated with the medium of expression, I'm sure Abhishek would, agree with me that I think in future, we need all the artists. I mean, that will be our duty as an artist, that we should bring out a lot of catharsis of the people. I'm just giving you one example in my state. In 71 days, in the second wave, in 71 days, I mean, from March to May, 71 days, do you know how many death certificates were issued? 1,62,000 in entire state. And the state government says that out of 1,62,000, only 4,000 people were died because of corona. Now, if you divide 4,200 with 71, you will see that every day only 60 people were dying during the second wave. I mean, I saw, मेरे आंखों से मैंने देखा, I saw in the Samshan where we, cremate our mom, I saw in 1 hour, एक साथ में, at a time, 8 to 10 bodies are actually, cremated there. I mean, in one Samshan, in one cremation ground, more than 60, bodies were actually burned or, cremated there. And the state was saying that in entire Gujarat, only 60 people died every day in second wave. Can you believe what sort of this life? I mean, the people who lost their nears and dears, unka reconciliation kab hoga? Who will do their reconciliation? I mean, who will bring out their, catharsis? Who will bring out their issues when they will see whatever they have suffered, in their life on the stage, or maybe, on the on the screen, small screen or big screen. But I think as an artist in future, we all have a duty to bring out such kind of stories on the stage, to reduce the violence in the society.
1 second.
Yeah, to reduce the violence in the society, because I think if this catharsis will not come out, this expression will not come out, I think there is a fear that in future there will be a lot of violence because people are not able to express, themselves. That's what actually as an artist I believe in. I don't know.
Yeah, incredible. We have now with us Karl Hancock Rux, and he is speaking to us from my phone. I think Thea from HowlRound will also send him perhaps a phone number. But Karl, can you hear us? And I'm putting you next to the microphone. Can you hear Karl speaking?
Yeah, a little
Karl?
bit.
Very.
Yeah. And Karl, where are you at the moment?
It's very bleak, Frank.
Yeah, he is in the Carolina Islands, and somehow, for whatever reason, his internet is not working. Maybe Thea from HowlRound can try to send you a phone link, a direct one, and by text message, and let's see if you can join from there, because I think it's not loud enough for my phone. So Thea, in case you are listening, please send to Karl a link. He can call in, and Karl, if not, I'm sorry about that it's not possible. It does happen, and let's see if it works. So I'm gonna send a mail to Thea, and we go on with the moment of the conversation. So talk to you soon, Karl. So I think I'm going to write to Thea, send text to Karl with a number to call in, and we'll see. I mean, we have over 100 artists participating in it. He did say us upfront that there might be technical problems, but normally they always get solved, or it's just a weak connection, but he, for whatever reason, cannot dial in to the link. Yeah, I mean, it is quite stunning. And I think the reason why we do this 24-hour marathon is actually to hear those stories, that you are talking about. They were not told in the mainstream, I guess, Indian media. We don't hear enough about it because also very few correspondents actually are paid full-time on the soil of other other countries. Often they are just by continent or by region. There's one, two office members. I think the entire American networks have one correspondent who is full-time in Asia. So we don't hear enough about it. Abhishek and Tanvi, what do you think? Do you foresee that there will be a ground-up movement? Will people say, you know, this goes no longer, or will they just say, as Tanvi said, "Oh, well done, all your volunteers, you are great and nice people," and but they will go on voting for what's clearly not working?
I think, if I may, Tanvi,
Yeah.
in my view, that we are at a very interesting moment in our democracy, where for the last at least 2 to 3 elections, which is 8 to 12 years, we are only an electrocracy. We have a functioning voting system, but that is not representative of the real issues. So what is happening is, although there are groups of people, there are now professionals who have figured out how the voting can happen so that a particular group can win. And I think if you look at the history of electoral democracy, it was predicted that at a certain, B.R. Ambedkar, the founder of Indian Constitution, has also said this as a warning in his early lectures, that we have to be careful of a time when democracy becomes a statistical game, wherein you can get a majority, but it may not represent benefits of people. This is Ambedkar's word. And I think we have to look at Ambedkar's warning today. We are in that situation. So I think people might vote for this government one more time, I don't know. But it still does not mean that they are actually for the government. I don't think in this kind of broken neoliberal capitalist system, we can expect a social movement from below, which is united, because the system itself has broken everybody into thinking of, their own little islands. But I do think that this democratic structure is going to change, as we can already see in the state government elections in India. If that aggregates to a national level, we will see it quite soon. Otherwise, it will take maybe another 4 years. But I also think that is not, there is a significant difference between politics and social work, which people have to be aware of. We are always available for social work. We are brought up in a culture where everything is about community. Most festivals in India are community festivals. Like we don't have many festivals which you celebrate only at home. There are many festivals in the West which people celebrate only with their family. We don't have many of those festivals. All our festivals are about going out and celebrating. We are like that. So I think, but that is something we will always do. That is not a political move. That is just inside the culture. I think if we, like our Prime Minister today has said that let us not politicize the pandemic. He has said this a few times. What is fascinating about this sentence is that he has his photograph on the vaccine certificate. It is not the flag of the country. It is not the flag of father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. It is not B.R. Ambedkar. It is his photo on the vaccination. But his photo is not there on the death certificate. I am happy to not politicize. If he puts his photo on the death certificate, then his photo will be actually in every house in much more numbers than the vaccine, because vaccine certificate is less.
Agree, completely.
They are politicizing it, and we should politicize it hence. And I think that movement, I don't know when it will happen, but it is happening. I think it is going on right now.
Yeah, the problem is that we also spoke to our friends in Chile, Argentina, but you cannot even organize, you cannot go on the street because it's not safe, so it's very hard, at the moment, because often political movements are grassroots movements. It comes out of meeting in parks, people, I think the uprising in Chile, which actually as a country for the first time now will vote on a new and create a new constitution after Pinochet, the dictator, stepped down. Finally, the government was forced to make changes, but it took teenagers who also refused to pay the higher metro prices. Women who went on the street on the Women's Day, over 1 million walked outside. But if you cannot do that in the times of Corona, so it is quite a complicated time. But it seems so obvious. But perhaps things have to get even worse for people to realize it. But then also often change happens fast. Tanvi, what does your father think if he's a doctor? And what are his predictions? What are his thoughts? What does he think about India?
I don't think he thinks big picture things at all. I think he is so concerned about the absolute disease. I think he literally is taking it 1 week at a time, as are many, many other doctors. Because there's been an uptick in cases that we see in Maharashtra now, which is not the second wave, also not the third wave. It's obviously the unlocking, and it's people getting more liberal with how they move around after they are, vaccinated, not even fully vaccinated. So there's a lot to still contend with. Also, a lot of ignorance, even within the medical community, and a lot of over dependence on steroids, and a lot of over medicating, which has also been a real problem. So it's not even like all the doctors agree on what the right course for COVID is. So, I mean, I think there are many, many battles to fight for them as well. Also, because the medical community is a complicated space. It has its issues of assaults and medical assaults, and the fact that patients live in a situation where they can beat up a doctor in case there is a death in the family. There is also latent and blatant casteism, which often results in bullying and suicides among students and medical students. So there's a lot for them to contend with. There's also a general kind of assumption that they will always be around, but they aren't really, they're grossly sleep deprived and underpaid. And as government servants, they live in abysmal conditions and extremely unhygienic. And people who are on call, residents on call in the last year, nurses weren't paid in multiple hospitals. A lot of news came out that people were working through the pandemic overtime without being paid. So I think the concerns of the medical community are currently, I think his job right now is that he wants to create awareness among people and among the community, among doctors, and just educating. I think conversations about India at large and politics, I think he just can't be bothered right now. He just wants to do what he can control, and this he can control.
Yeah, incredible. And I'm sure he works so hard, as you say, 13, 14-hour shifts and over a long time. I think it is hard, not easy to sustain. We also have medical misinformation here in America. There was a Florida doctor who went to a hearing. I don't know if it was a congressional one, but a political hearing, and she said people should not get vaccinated. They will be magnetized. Their bodies will be magnetized. Others say if you let anyone in your house who will give you vaccination, they will steal your Bible and they will take your guns away. Like the obvious false information by opponents, and people take it serious, believe it or not. How is that in India? Is that an outcry? People, we need that help, or is there also hard to find out what's true and what's not true?
I mean, just a quick response actually to this man. I mean, we have a once so-called saint. His name is Ramdev, Baba Ramdev, and he's a businessman. Actually, he started his company in 3,600 rupees, and right now he has empire. I think before 3 or 4 years, it was around 12,000 crore rupees in just 10 years, right? He sells Ayurvedic, Ayurveda medicine, blah, blah. He started to manufacture, I think, Coronil or kind of Ayurvedic, right? Coronil. So Coronil. So he said that now you can be cured and blah, 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 blah. And there was a lot of chaos because many people, if you wear saffron in this country, you become saint. I mean, you are casteless now. When you become a saffron, these people wear the saffron color cloth and they are the businessmen in that, and they have been using such kind of pandemic for their businesses, such kind of incidents. And medical, I mean, he was keep targeting to the medical science, medical authorities. And after 1 year, now medical authorities have took action against him legally, because he was keep telling to the medical authority that you are doing wrong, you are doing wrong, I am doing correct things, in terms of Ayurveda, blah 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 blah. But right now, since 1 year, he's just spreading misinformation across the country, and because he fear the saffron cloth, people believe him.
I think also it's about breaking the habits of a lifetime. For instance, with things like steam inhalation, Indians with all these different kinds of medication and just home therapies. Um, COVID is an airborne aerosol spread disease, and what my father and his colleagues saw is that steam inhalation, which is what people do when they have colds, which is something that many Indians do, was being done when people suspected that they had COVID to kind of cure the cold quickly. And what they inevitably ended up doing was spreading the virus within the house to the entire family, and that's
Yeah.
actually how community spread happened as well. So it's also about, and then when we tried to spread that information, it was, no, you should believe what you have been doing since our grandparents have told us that it's okay, and da, da, da. So it's also just needing to update. In fact, I think my father is doing a conference in December. It's called Unlearn or something, and it's literally about all the things that the medical community needs to discard, because there is so much, because so many developments have happened in the past year and a half that need you to let go of a lot of old information to make space for the new.
Yeah, it is quite shocking and stunning, and the result is that people like in the arts community who are compassionate souls are forced to take over work that really should be done by a healthcare system, by governments, by local, state and city governments. And this is also why we have this call here. Does that idea of the Indian government to say, just spread positive news? I remember I read that somewhere that they say, don't say anything bad, just don't call it Indian virus anyway, call it the Delta. But if we just have positive thinking, it will go away on itself. Is that working with the population in general? Or do you feel that that somehow the walls are showing cracks?
Abhishek, do you, or
I think, today in the previous session, Richard Schechner was with us, and he said a very interesting thing about, he was pointing to Hindutva, and he was saying that, Hinduism and Hindutva, what is the problem with Hindutva? I think this positive news business is basically a Hindutva idea. Hindutva is all about positive news about itself and bad news about everybody else from the beginning of time.
Right.
So this is the fundamental assumption in Hindutva. So this works very well. It's an automatic thing given to somebody who is a believer of Hindutva, not Hinduism necessarily. Hinduism also has a lot of problems, but right now I'm talking about Hindutva. So this notion that, don't speak bad about the country is a combination of religion and nationalism, which means that if today I say something wrong about Narendra Modi, I'm also saying something bad about Lord Ram. I'm also saying something bad about my ancestors who came God knows from where 4,000 years ago. You are negating everybody if you give bad news about your country. Also, we should not give bad news about our country to anybody who is external. Now, this is a really catch-22 situation, because we are saying that we are superior to everybody. Hence, we should vote for this government. On the other hand, we should keep the people who are inferior to us impressed by us. Otherwise, somehow, we still have to please them. This kind of logical fallacy is at the heart of Hindutva. And I think this is not, they're not asking you to spread positive news. They're asking us to spread positive lies. And that's the difference between news, and everybody is open to spreading positive news. But I don't think we can spread positive lies.
Yeah, this is quite a difference, and it said, we said before, it's about the truth, and the truth is concrete, as a big philosopher said. It's the numbers, as I think Dakxin pointed out. You look at death numbers of hospital beds, numbers of death certificates. These are true numbers, and you might fake news about them, but they won't be right. So it's really heartbreaking for us to hear, because we all do admire India. We think so highly of this country with this great tradition, with this revolution, and the innovation that comes out of India. And in a way, it is also seen, in the Western world as an alternative model to China, and as a democracy that perhaps actually is dignified, to use that word, but it is so troubling to hear. And we all hope that events like this today also will help to steer it in a direction, or at least create discussions about it. We will slowly move into our next session, and really would like to thank Atish and Dakxin for having joined us, for Tanvi to be with us, and Abhishek and